Welcome, low ego action heroes and phoenixes. This is Debbie Levitt from dcx, and we've got a special show for you today, episode 286. We're going to talk about how AI transformation is really service design. It's a project that really requires research and knowledge design, and you know when I start saying those words, we're going to have Larry Marine on the show. So just know that he's coming in about a half a minute. I just want to do a little business first and remind everybody, please join the Delta CX Hive community. It's still free. Our Discord is free. Our Patreon is free. We've got so many events coming up all through February and March because my new book, I've got the matching shirt, Atomic Product Market Fit, publishes in 2 days. So we're going to have an Ask Me Anything stream tomorrow and a book launch party on Thursday, followed by a continued party on Friday, karaoke, live streamed karaoke. So, that being said, let's bring in Larry and let's talk about AI transformation and service design. And if you have any questions, drop them in the chat so they will pop up on the screen. Welcome, Larry Marine. Larry, who the heck are you?
That's always been the question, hasn't it? I'm one of those well-kept secrets, I think. Well, I've been doing this UX research thing for about 36 years now. You know, it went by pretty fast, but I've learned a lot over those years. And I started off learning it from Don Norman himself. And I have evolved what he taught me based on my experiences and what I've learned over the years. And I like sharing that. And as a matter of fact, I wrote a book about it. You've probably seen it before because you figure prominently in it. Yes. And it's basically an evolved.
Oh, wait, hold on. For people
UX.
listening we now have an audio only podcast version. So we should mention we were holding up books and the book is called Disruptive Research. Okay, back to you.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, good.
Sorry,
Yeah,
my
so
dogs have decided to fight each other. Keep going.
So disruptive research basically includes a lot of the topics that we're going to talk about today. And it has to do with AI, it has to do with UX. And one of the things I want to focus on is the knowledge design, which you did mention. And that is people have to use a product to solve a problem. And they don't know necessarily how to solve the problem, and two, how to use the product. So what you're trying to do is identify what the knowledge gap is between what the users know and what they need to know, and design that into the product. And we can use AI to help with that. But let's keep going.
Okay, so one of the first things I wanted us to talk about, because I have a few notes here, is we should probably start by defining for and with everybody. And if you're watching live or listening, you want to throw in your definitions. I want to define AI transformation and I want to define service design. Do you want to take a swing at those, or should I read what I've prepared?
Why don't you start?
Okay, sure, you can add to these. So for AI transformation, I actually found that, of all people, IBM had what I thought was an okay definition of it. And they define AI transformation as a strategic initiative whereby a business adopts and integrates artificial intelligence, AI, into its operations, products, and services to drive innovation, efficiency, and growth. And for me, that keyword was strategic. Anything you would add to that about what's being called AI transformation?
You know, what's interesting is you could take out AI transformation and put in any of the newfangled things that came up over the years, Flash, web, you know, whatever it was. And that's the
Crypto.
same. Yes, it's the same verbiage. It's just a different artifact.
Yeah, it seems like small and large companies are always trying to make one transformation or another. And now it's the AI transformation.
I can't wait to hear what's next.
Peanut butter? Yeah, I don't know. I've stopped trying to guess. You want to make a guess about the future, next transformation?
Molecular transporters.
Very Star Trek. Maybe flying cars. Where's the flying cars? And then I wanted to give people a definition of service design. I am less ready for that because I am referencing my own book right now, so I can read some of these things out. Was there something that you wanted to throw in about service design? Or let's see, I can try to. Okay, I've found my definition of it. Did you want to say something about service design before I do?
I always like to go after you because you're a better speaker than I am.
I, I learned, come on, I learned so much from you. This is not a contest. Ana Lucia says, by the way, I use task analysis as my bridge to show I can do service design in an interview. Cool. Good luck with that. So the definition I have for service design is the systematic approach to designing end-to-end experiences that span multiple touch points, channels, and time periods. Service design examines ways to improve or reinvent digital touch points, human interactions, physical elements such as packaging and retail locations, and behind-the-scenes processes that affect the customer experience. So, in addition to solving customer problems, we are solving internal company problems, inefficiencies, and waste. Something to add to service design?
Yeah, one of the things that you didn't mention in that very, nice description was that service design typically incorporates various actors throughout the process. And the same actor can go in and out of that process. For instance, your example, I watched the video about returning vaccines, claims on damaged vaccines.
Right.
And there were the same actors going in and out of the process at different times.
Right. There were
And so,
the doctor's offices had the vaccine coordinators who had to kind of wear a lot of different hats, from understanding the vaccine wasn't delivered or it went bad. And sometimes they had to physically pack it up and ship it. And they you could say they played a few roles.
right, right. And there was one role in particular that you doesn't really come out in the analysis, but is a very important actor, and that is, when somebody says that the vaccine has been damaged and do not use it's in quarantine, somebody may actually inadvertently use that quarantined vaccine. So how do you prevent them from making that mistake? So when you say end to end, it's more like the circle of actors, not just a linear, point in time type of approach.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, they said they label the vaccines quarantine, do not use. Maybe they have a bright orange sticker or some other way of doing it. But yeah, they're relying on someone understanding this labeled box is not to be used.
Correct. Correct. So service design extends beyond the immediate tasks that have to be done and could also include the subordinate tasks.
Right, and typically goes beyond what we think of as a customer journey map. It's not just, oh, the customer wants to do a thing. Oh, they are sad. Oh, they figure it out. Hey, they got it done. They are happy. Service design usually brings in how other people from the ecosystem, you're saying actors, I'm saying ecosystem. I think we're talking about the same thing. How other
Yeah.
people in the ecosystem are involved, whether that's partners or resellers or installers or maintainers, or it could be people in our own company.
Right, and these different actors create triggers that involve the next actor, the next step of the process. So there are some tasks that are parallel and some that are serial. And good service design has to understand that and be able to optimize the process, recognizing that there are parallel and serial activities.
And I love that you just said optimize, because I think when a lot of people think about adding AI to a process or a product or a system, they think, ooh, if we add AI, this is going to be optimized, streamlined, better, faster. One of those comparative words. And I want to kind of get people to how we do this well, because AI is hot. Everybody wants it thrown into everything. Well, at least the companies want it thrown into everything. But Larry, do the users want that?
Well, what you've just described is a lot of companies merely are frustrations. They don't really solve the root cause of the problem.
So, how can we find out the root causes?
What if there was a thing called task analysis?
If only we had a way to understand the root causes, and we can do a good task analysis if we do.
Good user research, knowledge design.
Excellent. I was shooting for excellent research there. So Larry and I didn't practice this ahead of time. Ana Lucia says, sometimes AI is way too complex for the problem we want to fix. Is AI the right solution? How would we know, Larry?
Well, that's actually a topic I wanted to discuss. Thank you. A lot of times people have AI tools and they say, okay, how do we use this tool? Rather than looking at what is the problem they're trying to solve, how have they optimized the task flow? If you do task analysis optimization, where you really investigate what the task flow is, you can identify opportunities using task analysis where an AI solution might fit in. And what's interesting is, there are a lot of agents out there. Those agents were born out of a necessity, something that the AI didn't do, and then somebody designed an agent for it to do it that way. That's how you identify how to design your agents, is do the task analysis and consider that the AI, consider it as if it's another person that works for you, an associate that works for you. How would you get that associate to do something? What's the trigger? What's the desired output? What has to happen between those two to make that output happen? And so when you do your task analysis, you can start to identify things where it's difficult for the human user, but it's actually doable for the AI. AI has capabilities that humans don't, such as being able to take in, millions and billions of bits of information, in a matter of moments. But they lack the ability that humans have to do inference and nuance and things like that. So identifying what the task flow is and what the optimized flow is helps identify what opportunities you have to incorporate AI into your product, rather than taking a screwdriver and trying to use it as a hammer.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you one of my favorite questions, which is, well, Larry, AI is so cool, right? Why can't we just start with the tech? Let's just show up to a meeting and say, look, we have AI. Where can we shove this thing?
Well, that's great if you're going to go in front of a venture capitalist and try to get some seed funding for your company. But the customers, as Ana Lucia pointed out, not everything requires an AI solution. Sometimes all you need to do is ask the user something, and it'll be as simple like, oh, this is what they need, here it is. You don't have to run an AI just to prove something that is obvious otherwise.
And not everything has to be AI. When we think about finding the right solution for well understood problems, the answer might not be AI.
Yeah, and a lot of people are using AI to design interfaces, and I've seen a lot of them, and they're terrible because they tend to misuse standards that everybody's familiar with, like where a button should be and what the button should look like and things like that. And so AI, in some cases, complicates things rather than solves the problem.
Yeah, I have some examples of that in the new Atomic Product Market Fit book, and you'll be happy to know there is a task analysis and disruptive research plug in there. So you've made it into the new book. Ana Lucia says they probably wouldn't like the costs of AI, but they likely like the idea of using the trendy stuff, even if it isn't the best solution. And sure, we're all old enough to have seen this same song and dance many times, like make everything blockchain. Remember when everything was supposed to be blockchain?
Yep.
And you were
Yeah.
there.
And that's basically how we started when you use the IBM definition of AI transformation. It's the same song, different dance.
Yeah, someone tried to add me on LinkedIn the other day, and it was a guy I'd met doing startup work in Silicon Valley maybe 15 years ago. And his LinkedIn headline was something like, working with companies on blockchain and NFTs. I'm like, NFTs are still a thing? I thought that went out of style.
Yeah.
Like, sir, I think you're slightly late to that game. It has come and gone. Okay, so I wanted to ask you something that matches some of the things I sometimes hear, especially when I'm working with non UX people, product management or engineers or revenue officers. And that's, well, look, we think we want to get AI into our product somewhere. Why do you want to do all this research? Why can't we just send out a survey? Or why can't we just have customer conversations? Why can't we just call up 4 of our best customers and ask them how they'd like to use AI? What's wrong with those methods, Larry?
Well, that's just basic research right there. And what you find is that if you do observational research, there are things that they do, that they perform, and there are things that they don't see as a problem because you've noticed that they have a workaround in place. These are the kind of things, the unspoken and the invisible things that AI can't capture. And just by asking the customers in interview or surveys, they're not going to mention things. So your research is going to be very biased towards what the users share with you, or how you've written the survey questions. How many times have you seen survey question that ask, "How much do you like our product?" Well, I don't. So,
Yeah,
and
thanks for asking.
that choice
0.
isn't on there. Zero, yeah. Can I use a negative number?
Yeah, I've said that. Yeah. Thinking about workarounds, I'm looking around my desk to see, do I have anything on my desk that would fit a definition of a workaround? And I think I might, though I don't have too many. And what I think I want to talk about, and this is the kind of thing we would see in observational research that we're unlikely to find through surveys or calling up customers and saying, what do you need? And that is that I keep a lip balm on my desk, and it's one of those like metal containers that has a metal top that you push down or you pull it up. And for some reason, I find that it forms such a vacuum seal that if I close it, it's very hard for me to open it back up. And that's without any hand problems. I still have good working hands, and not everybody does. And so I tend to keep it slightly. I never really close it, and sure, that means I might knock it over or whatever, but like I'm trying to work around how they didn't just put a screw on this. If it had screwed on, that would have been easy, but it's this weird sealed metal. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, that's a weird
Yes,
little
I
thing
do.
that I'm doing.
Another workaround I see are checklists that people create for doing something. So, for
That's a good point.
instance, when you started up this show, you went through a checklist of, is this on? Yeah. Well, what if that was recorded in the system somehow, and you just pressed one button and it automatically did all of those for you?
Right, and I've set some of that up in my broadcasting system where I used to have to press like go live, record, fade in the music. Now I have an automation where I press 2 buttons and 7 things happen.
Right. And what's interesting, before you did that and you had a paper checklist, you thought, oh, I've got this solved because I've got it written down. And I've seen that time and time again where somebody won't say that that's a problem because they have created a workaround, a checklist, so they figure, I've solved that problem. When in fact you could actually solve it in a more elegant way for them, so they don't even have to use a checklist. But that doesn't occur to them because in their mind they've already moved on from that problem because they have a checklist.
Yeah, and that reminds me of a place I worked at last year where in some of the research studies I would say to people like, "And how did you know that?" or "How did you decide that?" And they would say, "It's in my head."
Right. So the question is, how do we get it out of their head so that others can benefit from it? And that's the concept behind knowledge design, is how do you take that expert knowledge and package it into a product so people who aren't that expert can benefit from that knowledge.
I'm sorry I'm making so
Take
many faces. I'm watching one of my dogs try to pick fights with the other dogs. Pizzolo, come here. Pizzolo. Come here, Pizzolo. Everybody said they wanted to see you on the show. Pizzolo, come here. Pizzolo, come here. Pizzolo seems to want to play. Well, I'll try to get him in a moment. Pizzolo. Sorry, Pizzolo looks like a shrunken, chubby German Shepherd. So coming back to AI transformation, can you tell us a story about some work that you've done bringing AI or AI technologies into as part of a solution?
So I spent a year working with the Air Force's AI accelerator program at MIT, and there were a lot of different groups that came in, and oh, okay. So there were a lot of different products. Some with crew scheduling, some with document or contract analysis, all kinds of different problems. And the one thing that we've really focused on was first identify what the problem is, and then start to identify what type of solution would help solve that problem. And that drove a lot of innovative AI solutions. One was simply just using Chat GPT out of the box because that worked well for them. But there are other ones that we had to design agents for them and everything. So just do the analysis, identify what is the process that you're trying to optimize, and then what tools or agents are you going to need to incorporate into that flow to create a solution that leverages the power of AI and leverages the power and knowledge of the humans in such a way that both support each other and avoid any complications or errors in the product.
Thanks for that. And is there any technique or approach that you use when, especially if you're prototyping or testing out some of these ideas, where you go, oh, yeah, I don't think AI is going to be right here?
It's not so much that AI isn't going to be right here, it's where does AI fit in very nicely. And that helps avoid, well, AI doesn't fit over here, because what you're really looking for is where can AI most benefit the process, rather than where has somebody put AI in that doesn't seem to fit.
That's fair enough, because maybe it does fit, but we haven't tried the right thing or used it in the best possible way.
So when somebody starts off by saying, well, we can use AI in this product, but they haven't identified the problem, then you know that's a bad fit for AI.
Right. What problem are we solving? What? Who cares? Get AI into this. We want to look like a modern company.
We got to show the VCs we're AI first.
AI first. Yeah, I mentioned that in my book. I say all these companies are saying AI first while millions of customers are shrugging and going, what does that even mean?
Right, right.
Like, how am I supposed to tell if that, can somebody just be quality first? Okay,
Well,
when can we get that?
that brings up an important concept, and that is, we've spoken about this before, and that is that the best UI or the best UXs are invisible.
Right.
Yeah, it may have AI in it, but the user doesn't even know it. It all happens magically behind the scenes. And it gets to the point where the user uses the product without any effort, any cognitive burden, achieves their desired outcome, and moves on to the next task that they have to do, with another product. and they don't even remember using your product because it was so intuitive, so seamless. And that's what you're trying to achieve with AI. How do you help the product become invisible to the user? And don't expose the AI. Don't put off fireworks and every time AI is doing something for you. Make it seamless and invisible.
Yeah, and that makes me think about one of the common survey questions, or for some people, an interview question that I see people using, which is like, how well integrated was this? And you're supposed to rate that if it's a survey question. And my thought was always, if something is well integrated, I guess the users wouldn't even know, because a seamless integration would be transparent. And how would they even know what's integrated with what?
There's a difference between transparency and invisibility. Transparency isn't always the goal because, for instance, transparency might show where the AI is working and what it's doing. And in reality, the user doesn't care as long as it does the right thing. And so then you can make it invisible.
Got it. I want to read a couple of comments that came in. Charlene says, a lot of times I hear, oh, we can just use AI here, but my brain goes to how? How will we just add AI here? What is that AI? What is that AI will do? Can we not just use APIs?
In many cases, yes, you can. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. If all they need is a wheel, just use the one you got.
Yeah, maybe the AIs are fine. Sorry, the APIs are fine, and you don't need AIs on top of your APIs. Too many letters.
It brings up an interesting thought I hadn't mentioned earlier, and that is when you incorporate an AI tool or agent into your product, there's a lot of maintenance that has to go on because you have to maintain the learning of that agent over time. And one of the problems with AIs that we know about is hallucination. And a lot of hallucinations are now starting to creep into other AIs because AI is using so much AI created content.
Right.
So, you know, the shark is eating itself. And so if an API does the job, an API is, fire and forget. Once you've designed it, it incorporates rules and data set and all that. That's fine, but it never changes. So you can rely on that API to do the same thing over and over again. But an AI will constantly change itself based on the data that it has available to it. And I think that's something that people don't get is an AI is constantly evolving.
Yeah, I guess if you're using it right, it's learning and evolving. That was the old machine learning.
That's why it's called machine learning.
Right. I want to read a couple of comments that are coming in. Ana Lucia says, do you know what bugs me a lot lately? Too many people think that AI involves using chatbots. So I've seen companies changing their processes to include chatbots, making it so much worse. We don't want another step in our task. I actually have an example of that in my new book coming out this week, of course, Atomic Product Market Fit, where my smart home light controls tried to get me to use an AI chatbot to say what type of lighting I wanted in what room. And my thought was, by the time AI parses that, I could just go into the controls and turn on the lights.
I think that answers one of the questions that she asked earlier about when is AI too much? When do you not need it? There are cases where something like that, where it's easier to just turn the switch on.
Yeah, why am I having AI chat with my lighting system? Carly Grace is here. Good to see you. Carly Grace says, what I think about often is how different AI tools are useful for different people at different levels of experience. There are a lot of things people say AI can be used for, but I often think only if they know enough or how to use it properly, which only happens with time and experience.
Yeah, I like to say it may not be intuitive at first, but give it time. which is kind of an oxymoron, right? But you're a great example of
Oh, well,
somebody who
thank you.
spends a lot of time trying out different AI tools to see what the results might be. And not everybody has that kind of bandwidth to explore with different tools. And some, like, I don't want to deal with AI too much. I mean, I look for opportunities to inject AI into a product, but I don't use it so much in my research. But I could, and I thank you for showing me how, so that's nice. But
Thanks.
not everybody wants to go that far, and so you have to learn how to use the tool, and sometimes that's onerous, and that's problematic. And then, like the chatbot that Ana Lucia brought up was they pop up, but in in apps you're not waiting, ready for, and all of a sudden they're in your face. And how do I get rid of it? And don't ask me questions. I'm busy doing something. They're intrusive
Yeah.
or interruptive at the very least.
Yeah, totally agree. And I wanted to mention that I'll be teaching the long version of how I use AI in my work in a new course. People can check that out at atomicpmf/lightning. That's atomic PMF, like product market fit, slash lowercase lightning, since I'm doing a free lightning lesson for the short version. And then there will be a longer course in April. And I want to also comment on what Carly Grace said, which was, I often think only if they know enough or how to use it properly, which only happens with time and experience. I put that into chapter 1 of my new book. I say throughout the book, I'm going to talk about where I think we can use AI or we shouldn't use AI. But when I say we can use AI, I'm assuming that you're using it in your domain as a person with domain experience, where if AI spits out crap or hallucinations or was trained on crap, you would know. Because if I try to have AI code for me, I'm not going to know if the code's any good. I'm not a developer. But if I ask AI to try to do something related to research or CX or strategy, I'll know if it gives me garbage. So I agree with Carly Grace that in some cases, the mileage we get with certain AI tools is really based on our knowledge of the domain. What do you think, Larry?
I agree with that. If you don't have enough domain knowledge, you won't notice the egregious type of hallucinations or errors that AI can create. When humans create errors, they're usually small errors because the human also has domain knowledge. The AI, it doesn't have domain knowledge. It doesn't even have knowledge. All it is a pattern reader. And so it's going to be an issue of you have to have enough knowledge to understand the AI and your domain. So it actually, using AI effectively does double your workload initially until you get to the point. I must have something at the door.
You've got lots of sounds. Those are fun.
Yeah, I think my shoes are here.
Ooh.
But
Do you need to go get your shoes and I'll fill some time?
nope, 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 nope. So, but the point is, you have to look at, if you're reviewing something a human did, you can expect certain things to be right, and you could scan it a lot easier. But with reviewing AI outputs, you have to understand that there are things that it may do that are wildly incorrect,
Yeah.
and you have to look at the result differently than you would if a human did it, and that takes practice too.
Because humans can certainly get things wrong, but I think a human with even a little bit of experience in an area is less likely to completely make up something that never happened. Like, I remember the first time I
Correct.
tried to use Claude for some UX qualitative analysis and synthesis, like a year and a half ago. It was like, and people want systems that are better integrated with the tools that they use. And I said, did you get that from one of the transcripts, or are you giving me generic business advice? And it said, oh, you caught me. That wasn't in any of the transcripts. I'm giving you generic business advice. And we still have to babysit the AI. But if I were working with a junior researcher, I think they would be less likely to make up something that nobody said.
Right, and the junior researcher wouldn't recognize that it was basically made up data.
It might be
There
harder
was
for the junior researcher to understand that that wasn't in the transcript because it sounds like good advice.
so there was a story recently on LinkedIn about somebody at a marketing rep at a fairly large company was describing that they only recently realized that the AI they'd been using had been given them made up information.
Yeah, that's gone viral.
And they were basing product decisions on that.
Evidently, they were basing huge decisions like where to build or buy a new warehouse or factory. I don't totally remember the story, but there were like huge expensive decisions. It wasn't like, should we spend $100,000 on something? It sounded like they were making multi-million-dollar decisions on things based on an AI with incorrect data.
Made up data.
Yeah. Yeah, wild, wild. I want to go back to something Ana Lucia said, so she knows I'm not ignoring her. She said, I don't think many people realize how much they don't know. I've seen too many people thinking an LLM would be the bridge to whatever knowledge they don't have. But you don't even know what you don't know. How can you even know what to ask? How can you know if it's okay? You don't.
That was quite the comment. I don't know how to respond to that. No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the things I say in the new book. I say, look, you don't even know what you don't even know.
I just know I don't know it.
That's conscious incompetence, I think.
Yeah.
For those following that little square of things. Um, I was also, there's something else I was thinking of and I forgot to write it down. So I wanted to ask you this general question. Let's imagine someone's listening right now and they are a product manager or a product leader or in some sort of strategic position at a company where the leaders are saying to them, get this AI into our product so we look cool, hip, and groovy. What would be your advice to those product managers or leaders or other people?
To question what the stakeholders are thinking that AI would look like to make it cool. Because, like I said, the best designs are invisible to the user. You know, the users use them without even recognizing it or thinking about it. It doesn't get in their way, it flows seamlessly. So, you know, if you're really interested in solving the right problem, you're going to make an AI product that is largely invisible. So, you know, make sure the stakeholders know that or get an idea what they think an AI should look like to make it look cool. And, you know, define what cool is.
Yeah, and
Because
that's, oh, sorry, go ahead.
you may have to create part of the interface that exposes, you know, makes the AI transparent as opposed to invisible, just to show that it's cool.
Okay, and so if we're connecting with the stakeholders to understand some of that vision, how can we make sure that we aren't just order takers building what a stakeholder wants? Is there some way to protect against that?
Well, that's what task analysis can really help for, is especially when, yeah, I should write a book about that.
If only there were a book about task analysis called Disruptive Research.
So, one project I worked on for the Air Force was a crew scheduling product that it turned out to be invisible, but the people loved the way it operated. They didn't need to see any AIs. For that matter, a lot of people didn't even know that AI was the fundamental function in that tool, because the AI had to constantly, you know, it's just following rules. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. LLMs are different than AI. AI is rule based, LLMs are more neural network based. And AI, you know, we built in all the rules. And so, you know, things could change, like a pilot got sick or a pilot has a dental appointment, or the plane has to be taken out for maintenance, or the missile range is only available, to 9 o'clock in the morning. All of these changes, the AI could take them in and then, come up with a new schedule to optimize the asset usage without losing any effectiveness. And that's what people wanted. It wasn't, I want an AI. It was, I want to have a crew schedule that uses my assets the most effective way and keeps my squadron trained and ready to go.
Right, while
So,
reducing user steps, cognitive load, manual task steps, errors.
right, all of that. And so if you identify that as what your desired outcome is with the use of AI, you're not describing what the AI is going to do, you're describing what the product will do. And it just incorporates, or as Anna Lucia has pointed out, does not incorporate AI. What is the right solution? And like I said, it's going to be invisible. The best ones are invisible. And so you have to get the stakeholders prepared for that. And instead of just going away and building it and then showing it to them, make sure you get agreement about what it's going to do, what the desired outcome is, and then tell them, we'll incorporate AI into this so you won't even know AI is working. Prepare them for the eventuality.
And I also want to touch briefly before I read Ana Lucia's next comment. I also want to touch on the concept of trust. Depending upon what the system is or does, you might find through observational research or interviews that maybe there are people in your user base who don't trust AI. They're worried about the hallucinations or they're worried about their privacy. How can we make sure we understand kind of the general sentiments from our user base?
That's a really good question. You know, ask me the question again.
I was just
Got
fishing
lost
for
in.
research there, but yeah, I was going to ask you.
I was going to answer it in some specific aspect of research, and it has to do
Some
with
sort
the.
of,
It has
yeah,
to do with the observation and versus what they say and what they do. You noticing the difference and identifying that knowledge gap, because that's what we're really trying to overcome is what is it the user needs to know but won't. How can the product incorporate that? How can you inject an AI tool to overcome that knowledge gap, things like that. So it all comes, like you said, it all comes down to the research, but it's how you do the research. It's not just doing surveys and interviews. There has to be some amount of observation in there,
right. And I was
and you
thinking
have to
that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
rely on, and you can't rely on self-reporting biases.
Can't rely on what?
Self-reporting biases,
Like?
news surveys, things like that, where
Oh,
people have
right.
to self-report. Journals, logs, day in the life, things like that.
Right, right. And I was also thinking about if you do get to observe and talk to people to learn how much they trust AI, either from an accuracy standpoint or a privacy or security or other standpoint, this sounds like something we could bring up in conversation.
Um, that's the kind of thing that I wouldn't ask directly.
Okay.
I might ask indirectly. What do you expect the machine to do for you? What are you afraid of the machine doing that you don't want it to do? Things like that.
Yeah, that's great. That one of the questions I've started asking in some of my qualitative interviews is very often people will say, "Oh, how will this make your work better?" or "How much time will you save?" I've started asking people, "How could this make your work worse?"
Yeah, that's a good question. I like that question.
Yeah,
What could
and
go wrong?
yeah. Another question I started asking last year because of I was doing some research around where AI could fit into a product for the company I was working for, and I came up with the question of What trend in your data do you wish you could know before it's a trend?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Hey, thanks. Hire me. Okay. uh, yeah, I think these will be interesting. Oh, so here's what Ana Lucia says. In your experience, what are the best arguments to convince stakeholders not to invest in a certain solution or to invest in what you think is the best solution? Is it just money?
No, it comes down to desired outcome. And so, one of the things that I like to do, and this is spelled out in my book, is do a priority matrix that balances the needs of the business with the desires of the user and the feasibility of the technology. And when you do that priority matrix, it depersonalizes the perspectives of the different. Yes, that's it. It
Priority matrix, page
depersonalizes
116.
it depersonalizes the perspective of the different ideas, if you will. So you're not attacking the stakeholder or their business needs. You're saying, okay, yes, those business needs are important, but how important are they to the user achieving their goal, and how feasible is that solution, to the technology? So you're doing that balance of the technology, the business, and the user in such a way that people can see, yeah, maybe that idea that I had isn't such a great idea. Let's continue on. And so that any way that you can depersonalize the perspective, if you will, is going to help you, you move the tasks in the priority matrix.
Thanks. If anybody has any other questions, please put them in the chat. If you're watching or listening to this later, you can always track us down and ask us some questions. Put a YouTube comment in, give us a thumbs up. But just in case there aren't any other questions, Larry, what else do you want to tell the good folks about when it comes to trying to work AI into products and services or internal processes?
Just stick to the tasks. Do the task analysis first, identify the problem, identify the solution path, if you will, and then look at it to see where can you inject AI in there most effectively. Because if you're doing it from the AI first perspective, you're going to get something wrong, you're going to miss something, or you're going to overdo something.
Yeah, we've seen this time and time again, from inject blockchain into everything to inject chatbots into everything. I feel like every year or two there's some sort of technique or technology that everybody just wants to spackle on top of stuff, and it so rarely makes things better.
Yeah, look what happened to Agile. I mean, Agile started off being, let's reduce the amount of fluff that we work on, and then you ended up with these big
Exceedingly
Agile processes.
fluffy.
Yeah. So, and that's going to be true for everything. And eventually you get to an equilibrium where you have just enough of say, AI that, it's easy enough for people to incorporate it accurately and effectively, versus where we're at now, AI first, where people are trying to find a way. I have an AI, how do we make a product out of it? Rather than, I have a product, how do we fit AI into it? So I like to be more product first than AI first.
Yeah, and I like to, I believe you also like to be more human first. Let's understand people and their tasks and their problems before we make a product.
When I say product, I include humans as the users, the business, and the technology, that balance of those three. So when I say product first, I include humans. And of course, I am human-centric.
Still human. Ana Lucia says, I still have to find a way to do task analysis for service design in a readable way without looking like a complex web we can't make sense of. So many touch points, so many users, so much knowledge. Larry, any suggestions for Ana Lucia?
Break it down into individual tasks. So find out what the triggers are, and then what tasks are, do the humans have to do within that after that trigger. So instead of trying to do one whole long service design, break it up into separate tasks.
Yeah, there's usually subtasks in a larger task.
Correct.
I
Correct.
remember when we found that in the project we did for the company that printed the logos on things. Where first we
Yes.
thought that the
Yes.
task was really, I'm just going to explain it to the audience so they can have a sense of what we mean. We thought the task was like, okay, you're shopping for stuff you can put logos on, you design it and you buy it. But we really found that there were at least four discrete tasks with, first of all, a whole decision process of what are we going to put the logo on, and then a whole decision process of which vendor do we want to buy it from, and then a whole task and decision process for designing the thing, and then a whole task and decision and process for making the purchase.
Right. And the last one, the purchase one, was driven by a budget. They had to try to reach a certain number of people within a certain budget. And it was interesting. I remember going through that and watching people try to figure out how many of those objects can they buy.
Right. Charlene says zooming in and zooming out. I don't know what that's in reference to, but thank you, Charlene. Zooming, but yeah, zooming in on the details, zooming back out at the bigger picture of
Yeah.
the task, or the how the tasks interplay. And so, Anna Lucia, that's probably a way to go. I want to do a quick note to everybody about the streams that are happening this week, and then we'll turn to Larry for some final thoughts. So today is Tuesday, February 24 of 2026. Tomorrow I'll be doing my usual Ask Me Anything at 7 o'clock at night Italian time. Thursday we're having a special extra stream for the book launch. I'll wear the other shirt. Atomic Product Market Fit should be for sale on Thursday. If you rush and get your copy immediately, there's a small mistake where a numbered list says 1123. You will have the rare chance to buy the weird copy before I fix it. And then Friday I'll go live singing karaoke for everybody to celebrate the book. So that's what's coming up this week. Don't forget to also check out the new course. The lightning lesson is which is a free webinar, is at atomicpmf for productmarketfit.com/lowercase letter L lightning. Larry, some final thoughts on getting AI into stuff thoughtfully and strategically.
Well, there's two approaches to incorporating AI. One is people first, a person first. And that is, how do you identify a way to help that person? And then there's product oriented, where you're trying to figure out, or when I say people first, I mean like the process of doing the research. The researcher, how do you find AI to help you, such as you've described in doing some analysis with AI and helping you write the report and all that. And then product first. How do you fit AI into the product? Those are two separate perspectives when it comes to AI. One is using AI to help you do what you've already been doing, and the other is how do you identify innovations where AI could actually be created to do, solve a problem that nobody else has solved yet, to do something that it hasn't been designed to do yet. So I would say practice first, I guess, and then product first.
Groovy. Well, thank you. Anything else you want to add?
There's some examples in my book about AI. So if you have my book, go ahead and read it. I think yes, go ahead and read the one of the last chapters on the travel agent AI solution.
Yeah, and we wrote the book we wrote it for 4 years, so we released it in 2023, and that was even before everybody was completely on fire about ChatGPT or Claude.
Yeah, we were ahead of the curve on that one.
As always.
But
All right.
what? I look back on it and it's still relevant. So, No reason to discard it yet.
Not outdated yet. So yeah, check out the book Disruptive Research. Check out the events page, dcx.to/events, for all of the streams and webinars and courses and stuff that I've coming up, including the live book club. I'm going to record the audiobook by live performing it in a bunch of streams, and then take them down and edit the audiobook from there. So it is going to be live performed. Ana Lucia says, if I get the job, it's pretty much thanks to your book. Okay, fingers crossed for Ana Lucia's job hunt.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, good luck there. Larry, thank you again for joining us on the show, and hopefully we'll see you again relatively soon for some sort of adventure.
Yeah, I'd like to do it again. We can talk about a different topic. And anyway, thanks for having me on. I appreciate all the work that you do to get us here.
Well, thank you, and enjoy the new shoes.
I hope so.
Okay, well, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.